Almost all of you have used a broom, right? So if I was going to sweep a ball from here to there, moving it in the direction, obviously when you're sweeping dust, you want to move it to a specific direction, not make it fly all over the place. So I want to take the ball from here. Notice how I position myself. If I play the ball too forward, I'm going to miss the ball on the way up and it's not going to go very far. If I want it to go farther, I'm going to position myself further forward of it. Notice how I can now put some pressure and lean up against that. So I'm going to brush from here and send it over there. That's where you're going to have your powerful golf shots. Collecting the ball from where it is and releasing it into the direction where you want it to go. Don't want to miss this show. This is going to be a good one. Now, we've all been there, you know. Winston Churchill said, "You gentlemen are playing with ill-fitted tools." He didn't think that this tool was fit to perform this job because he looks down at the ball and he thinks, well, I guess I got to put it in the air, and then tries to lift the ball in the air. And that's what we see so many beginners and novice players do. They're trying to lift the ball. So they're going to sway off the ball and then try to get under the ball in the hopes of getting it up into the air. And if you looked at how you would sweep dust or anything in that direction, well, you would bring the handle forward, collect the dust from where it is, and then release the dust along the ground. Now, you don't want to make the dust fly up in the air that way. And the broom is designed in a very different way. When your hands are forward, notice the broom is de-lofted. If you want to keep the dust on the ground, you keep the hands out in front and we can keep the dust on the ground. You want to make the dust fly up in the air, you load the bristles and then you flick it upwards. That's how hockey players send one over the boards to delay the game. Or that's how they would, keep it low to perform a low wrist shot. In golf, we want to keep it low all the time. Why? Because the loft of the club is what puts the ball in the air. And if you look at the angle of launch of the average 7-iron on the PGA Tour, it's 16.3 degrees. The 7-iron is average 30 degrees of loft. That's half the loft of the club. So that's because the hands are always coming through first. And there it is. So if you want to sweep the ball in that direction, here's a nice exercise for you. Sit the club down on the ground and then just drag it through the ball along the ground. And if you want a nice legal way to chip, a short chip shot, and you're yipping with those little short chip shots, just drag the club through. Start it back here and just drag it through. And then you'll land the chip shot right there. I just landed right on this tee. I only had to go a couple of feet in the air, less than a yard carry. But the benefits to dragging through, notice the hands are always staying forward. And for the beginners and novices, they'll understand that, wow, that's what puts the ball in the air. The club staying along the ground. If you look at impact positions or through impact in slow motion of these particular shots, you'll notice the club is coming down, catches the ball first, then cuts the imaginary dandelion stem, then goes through the divot, and then comes out on the other side. Sometimes, depending on the shot and depending on the terrain and how firm the ground is, you won't take any divots. And other times, when the ground is soft enough or the shot requires a lower trajectory, then the divots will be thicker. So the divot is basically the buffer zone of your golf shots. And that's how we get through. There you go. So hands are always going to lead, just like the broom. The only one that doesn't lead is the push broom. Everything else, tennis, swordsmanship, right? I want to cut through something with a sword. I would never do that and let the tip get ahead of it. I'm going to be the one that's going to get hurt. Through, I'm going fishing, handle first. Hammering, handle first. This is the nature of dynamic human movement patterns, you see? So we play the ball a little bit back, the hands a little forward, and then we can start letting the weight of the arms fall through the shot. And if you look at how things transpire, as far as getting spin is concerned, well, if you play the ball too far forward, you top it, that's going to be top spin. And if you ever reach for it, notice you would add a lot of loft lunging after that and trying to lift it. So what happens is you're hitting super high shots that have no spin and no control in the air. So if you're the one hitting those very high shots, you want to keep them low, get with a broom, then feel that same through the ball, right? And that's what's going to give you some fantastic contact with the golf ball. So let's look at what that looks like on the screen. Okay, so this is Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Same holes we did in the last video. Watch the difference now in the trajectory of that. So the angle of attack was a little steeper, 10 degrees instead of 8. See how the shaft is leaning forward to de-loft that? Just like when you see it in slow motion, right? The path was from the inside, caught it just a little bit off the toe there, but notice how nice and straight that shot was. So if you look at the replay of that, see how that's got some really nice bite to it? So if we look at the height of that shot, so the height now is 62 feet compared to 75 to 100 feet. It was actually 100 feet in the air in the other one. So notice how that comes out much lower, all right? And that's where you get that wonderful spin on the ball as well. So you'll see that the vast majority of the players on tour are coming in from very low. So if you look at the vast majority of the PGA Tour professionals coming in under 100 yards, they're coming in flighting it super low. You'll be extremely surprised at how low that is and how much it grabs and bites. But don't forget, they're playing with new wedges. Vijay Singh, when he was on tour and playing every week, and he was the guy who was #1 in the world, he had new wedges, fresh wedges every week. That's what allowed him to get the maximum bite on that ball at all times and always have a consistent wedge in the bag. Not every one of us can have that luxury, right? But when you're playing for a living and you can auction off your wedges to a wonderful organization or junior golf, then it's a win-win situation. Hope you enjoyed that. See you next week.